me and Mario were never scared of getting denied by landlords. I think that's a lot of people have that challenge of, getting that first denial and then, all right, this is not going to work. And I remember I got denied at least 30 times before, one landlord was like, yes. For us, we didn't see that as a challenge. We saw that as like, all right, it's just a numbers game. The more units you see, the more landlords you see, eventually you'll get a yes.
This is episode number 49 of the Short-Term Rental Success Stories podcast. Are you an investor that's looking to have your home professionally managed? Go to cohostit.com for more information. Welcome back to Short-Term Rental Success Stories. I'm your host, Julian Sage. This is a show where I talk to hosts about their journeys in starting and growing their short-term rental business. My goal is that you'll be able to walk away with practical information that'll help you become a better host and learn how to scale your business. Like any exceptional host, we all strive for 5-star reviews, so please go on over to iTunes and let us know what you enjoy, as it really helps support the show. If you haven't done so already, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation, to connect with the community. Hey, what is going on, Host Nation? I'm super excited to be back again with you this week. We are just one away from the Big 5-0, and wow, I am super excited. It's hard to believe that it's been 50 consecutive weeks now that we have just been putting out these success stories and the Vacation Rental Machine podcast. Every week, it feels like we're just moving forward and continually growing and adding so much value. One of the ways that we are looking to provide that next level value is through the next iteration of content that we're going to be coming out with, and that is through the Vacation Rental Machine formula. So for those of you loyal Host family followers, you know that I've partnered with John Bell, and he's been my mentor, business partner, and friend, and we've been working together through the Vacation Rental Machine podcast to create this formula, which we're calling the Vacation Rental Machine formula, to help hosts that are looking to start, automate, and scale a rental arbitrage co-hosting business. So we have a really unique way that we're blending the two, and we've decided to create a way for you to walk step by step and follow along with us as we build out our own management company and using all the tools and all of the systems that we have so that we can take everybody along. The content that we've been sharing is very next level, and that's the whole reason, because we don't want to just provide information out there and then hope that you guys can just become good hosts. We want to help nurture you guys so that you have everything that you need to become a profitable and professional short-term rental manager. If you are interested in finding out more, then go to shorttermsage.com/earlybird, and you can actually join our email list to know exactly when it will be released. And maybe it will be available by the next episode. Stay tuned, because we're coming up on March, and March is going to be a very exciting time because that's when people are going to be traveling more, and maybe our early birds that are subscribed to our email list are going to be getting a very special discount on the course. So go to shorttermsage.com/earlybird to subscribe and find out when we do release it, and it will be coming out very soon. I'm excited for you all to be able to have really amazing growth. And one of the people that we had the special honor of speaking with today has had that really awesome growth, and that is Stefan Pougatchev. Stefan went from 0 to 5 rental arbitrage units within 8 months of being in the short-term rental space. All of these located in California. So many people say, oh, California is way too expensive to purchase. Stefan even says that, which is why he got into the rental arbitrage space. And now he's planning on going to around 12 units in the next few months. In this episode, Stefan talks about how he and his business partner structured their partnership and why they decided to do business together. He also shares his experience on getting denied at least 30 times before he got his first yes to be able to start this business. Stefan shares a lot of the trials and tribulations of getting into the rental arbitrage space. The beauty is that you can do this literally anywhere where regulations are allowed, of course, but in a place like California where it is more expensive and you're thinking, how am I supposed to get my return on investment back? There are creative ways, and of course, that is through the short-term rentals, because if you want to be able to shortcut your success, you invest in short-term rentals. If you like my show notes for this episode, go to shorttermsage.com/STR49, or if you like my show notes sent directly to your inbox every week, then go to shorttermsage.com/show notes. With all that being said, on to this week's conversation. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. In this episode, I have the special honor of speaking with Stefan Pougatchev. Stefan, would you please introduce yourself to the Host Nation and let them know who you are and what inspired you to get into short-term rentals?
What's up, Host Nation? My name's Stefan. What has really inspired me to get into short-term rentals is trying to get out of the rat race and having my own side income.
Awesome, awesome. And do you want to tell a little? So, getting out of the rat race and starting your own side income. What's your current situation? You have a full time job. You have 5 units. Could you essentially retire, or could you leave your job at this point, or what's kind of the number that you're looking for to be able to quit?
No, I definitely can't leave my job yet with 5 units. They're not luxury units, but if we were if I were to leave my job, I'd probably want around 20 to 30 units. And that wouldn't really supplement my salary that I'm making now, but it will definitely, I'll definitely be able to live off that, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with sacrificing a little bit more money to not have to work and, do it and do this full time.
And just to bring up something real quick, you said because they're not luxury units. Is there a big difference from how the luxury units in the California area are being priced versus yours? Because when you're sharing some of the numbers, you're averaging about $1,000 per unit throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, so there is, and which is surprising. When I first started into this, I had an opportunity to get a luxury unit, and I didn't do it just because I was a little nervous. It was a little more expensive, and I was worried about covering rent. But what I found was, and what I've been seeing is that luxury units, you can charge a lot more. You have a lower occupancy, but you're making a lot more just because you're charging so much. So on average, my occupancy is around 80, 85 in El Segundo. And if I got a luxury unit, let's say somewhere in Hermosa Beach, right along the beach, it could be like 60, but I could be making twice as much I'm making. Just because it's right along the beach, it's a vacation house, and so it's just different numbers and the way you want to play it.
Awesome. And do you mind sharing what's your story? How'd you get started and even hear about Airbnb or rental arbitrage? Because you're still relatively new. I mean, you got started. You are new. You got started March 2019, so just a little over 8 months now.
Yeah, just a little bit over 8 months. So I'm originally from New York, and I moved out here to California for work. My girlfriend actually at the time just wanted to move somewhere warm. So we both just never been to California, never been out west. And we just decided to, she's like, hey, can you find a job in California? I was like, sure, I'll look. And we moved out here. And then my business partner that I'm in on this with, he also moved to California, and I didn't know. So we didn't know that we were both friends in Brooklyn. And then he said, hey, I'm going to California. And I kind of just brushed it off like, yeah, probably not. You probably won't go to California because he doesn't do some things. And then, I was in California, and then I was like, hey, what up? I just moved to LA. He's like, I've been in Orange County for like a month. So, we met up and we started talking about just the side hustle. I know he was trying to work on a real estate company, starting a real estate company down in Orange County. And, I started talking to him about Airbnb and how one of my friends in New York was crushing it near a ski resort. He was buying houses. And, my business partner wanted to start buying houses as well. And I said, hey, that's a lot of capital. Let's just try rental arbitrage. Let's figure out these systems and see if it'll work. So he got on board, and we took a course. And from there, we just started doing it.
So you had a friend in New York that was already operating and crushing it by the ski resort area, but then you're coming into California brand new. You just knew about someone that was doing it. How did you first get started, and how did you know to go the rental arbitrage route? Because your partner wanted to purchase properties, which is, more traditional real estate. More people are thinking, okay, I got to purchase a property, and then, maybe I can rent it out on Airbnb. But you said, hey, let's not tie up that capital. Why don't we invest it into, rented units? Yeah.
So, if we bought a house, we wouldn't have, in California, first of all, it's very expensive to buy a house. And if we were to do it, we'd probably barely afford one. And so we kind of went over the numbers together with him, and I was like, listen, we can take these, and we can, get 5 units right away. And so he thought about it a little bit, and he's like, all right, let's do it. And the goal is to, for these 5 units to start generating more money, and then, reinvesting that into more rental arbitrage units.
And how'd you know about rental arbitrage being in the space?
So I only knew about purchasing just because my friend was doing it at Hunter Mountain in Hunter, New York. It's a ski resort there. So he told me a little bit about it, and then I started, doing more research on Airbnb, and I fell on a video on YouTube about a guy. His name is Jay Macy. Does Cash Flow Diary. That's his website. But he started talking about rental arbitrage. And I got a lot more interested in it. I was like, hey, this is something I could probably do because I didn't have, a ton of money to start. And I didn't have a ton of money to start. And so I started doing that. I started researching it more and more on YouTube. And then I finally went to an event here in California, just like a meetup group. And Jay Macy was there, and he was actually talking about, short-term rentals and how he does it and what the business model is, just the general idea kind of it. And that's how I found out about it.
Awesome. And you decided to go in with a business partner. What's the role of your business partner? Could you have scaled up to 5 units right away without him? Can you give a little backstory on that?
Yeah. So I think without him, I probably would have got 3 or 4. But I think we both wanted to do it together because we said, I was reading a quote somewhere the other day, which I kind of makes sense in this scenario. It's, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. And I think having a business partner, you have more capital, you have more resources to your hands. So, hopefully the goal is to build for a longer journey here. And so we went together. I definitely think we could have probably done it by ourselves, but we both just realized, hey, let's do this together and figure it out together.
Now, how do you delegate roles, or how do you set up that relationship? Let's say there's people that are trying to get into the space. Maybe they don't have the capital, or maybe they don't have the experience. How do you structure a relationship or a partnership so that you are both able to contribute to the business?
Yeah, so we're both really good friends. So when we first started, we kind of just duties was like, if I had to do something, I'll just do it. If he did something, he did it, and then we told each other what we did. And then eventually got to a point where I was really building the system. So I was building the messaging, I was building the guest booklets, I was doing the pricing. He was more focused on working and whatnot. And then, I started building all this stuff, and I really didn't tell him about it just because I was just like, hey, I'm just going to start doing this, and I'll tell him later. I finally built all these systems, and I told him. And, he's like, wow, this is really cool, all this research they've done. But now the main thing that we do is really answer messages. So, we like to respond within an hour when we get our message, if we can. So if I'm not responding, he's usually responding. And we kind of have this general idea of what to say. And, we have this like list of questions that we have that people usually ask, and, we have a response to them. So it's really managing it. We both just share messaging with guests and stuff like that now.
Now, going back to what you said, you said that you could have picked up, maybe if you were to purchase a property, you maybe could have purchased one property. What does it look like out in California as far as if you were to purchase, let's say you had purchased that property, what would some of the numbers be on return on an investment like that versus where you're at now, where you have 5 units that you're able to pick up, and they're, cash flowing around $1,000 a month throughout the year?
Yeah. So to tell you the truth, I don't know, because, I was just so scared of the real estate prices in California. I was like, this is just not going to be an option for us. I looked at one place in El Segundo, and it was like $1 million for like a 2-bedroom. I'm like, wow. It's like a lot of money. And, it's comparable to New York as well, because apartments in New York are, a 2-bedroom apartment can be like around $500,000. So it's a lot of money. And, I didn't have that. And I was just like, I definitely can't do that right now. So I didn't even look at the numbers for owning a property, but, kind of just looking at data, on pricing and from Airbnb and whatnot, it looks like it could be a good investment. I mean, like a 2-bedroom house in El Segundo could probably pulling in around $60K a year, $70K a year. So it's not bad.
Awesome. And where you've taken this business now, though, I mean, you said that you're spending on average about an hour a day with messaging.
Probably a lot less than that. Probably a lot less than that. I'd say hour a day just to be safe. Probably just a lot less than that, just because, when a guest first is coming in, we have a lot of messages. So, I tried Smart B&B, and Smart B&B really helped out a lot. But I still like to communicate and have that real person communication with the guest. So I decided, I'm going to take off Smart B&B and still do it that way. And I made it a lot easier. There's a lot of, saved templates that I have that I'll send it. But I just felt like, I can get a more personal and quicker connection with the guest if I'm messaging, without using Smart B&B. And so that's, 30 minutes in the day spread out here and there, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. That's really our main job, right? Main duties, I would say. But the most challenging part about running the business, is really doing staging, right? That's where a lot of money went into, and we made a lot of mistakes when we started buying furniture and actually doing staging for the units.
What are some of those first mistakes that you made when you were staging units?
Oh man, so much. So we first started out with a stager. We had a interior designer. She was great, and I recommend her to anybody that wants to use her. Her name is Latanya Keys, and she does her website is strinteriors.com. She's based out of LA, but she works everywhere in the country. I mean, she flies to Hawaii all the time, Chicago, wherever anybody is, she'll go there. And when we first started out, again, we didn't have a lot of money. So being both of us from New York, we were really good negotiators. And, she was originally charging, I think she was trying to charge around $25 to $20 per square foot to design a place. And we didn't have that type of money to get 5 units. So we got her down all the way to $10 a square foot. The first unit she gave us for $10 a square foot. And then the second unit was $12 or $13 a square foot. And then she just told us hey, I can't really do this because I'm not making any money. I'm happy to help you guys starting out, but I'm not making any money. So we're all right, we can't afford you right now. So we're not going to use you. And again, now looking back, I would probably pay her the more money just because I know what the numbers are coming in and I can see it. I was just very nervous about first getting into the game and spending so much money. I wanted to reduce my risks. And so the biggest challenge is really doing it ourselves and painting and doing the design work and whatnot. So it took a lot of effort and a lot of time off our hands when we could have probably had a unit ready within a week using Latanya in her business, where for us it took about a month and a half. It took 2 months to really fully set up, because our Long Beach units aren't the best quality units. Our Long Beach units are very old school units, and those took a long time to actually get set up and running.
So that's when you first started. Are you doing anything differently now that it makes it easier for designing units?
Yeah, I think the next unit that we both get it's gonna be we have a set a line of products that we like to get into the house, into the unit. We have a maintenance guy that is gonna do our painting. We're still gonna do it ourselves, but we've kind of realized that we learned from all those mistakes that we did. But we have a set standard now of what we want in the unit and what works for us and in which location. And so I think it's gonna be a lot easier. All the products that we use are saved just one click away. We still have extra paint from all our other units. So it's, we're trying to save costs on furniture because that's one of the biggest costs when first, setting up a unit.
How much are you spending on average per unit?
Well, so when we first started out, it was around $10K. And then we're that's, to me, that didn't make sense. I was like, this is expensive. We can definitely do this for cheaper. So we got it down to around 6 to 5K. And hopefully we can get it a little bit lower. So. And
that's for 1 bedroom?
1 bedroom and a studio. So our 1 bedroom and studios are basically the same. We have 1 king bed and then we have a sleeper sofa. So on Airbnb, you can sleep 4. So It's almost the same, just a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of extra furniture in the one bedroom, just like the coffee tables and the night lights and whatnot. So, but almost the same.
What was the most challenging part of starting your short-term rental business?
Pulling the trigger. Really just pulling the trigger on it and saying, all right, let's do this. And I think both me and Mario were never scared of getting denied by landlords. I think that's a lot of people have that challenge of, getting that first denial and then, all right, this is not going to work. And Mario and I are both from New York and got the New York attitude where we just pushed and pushed and pushed these landlords to let us do it. And I remember I got denied at least 30 times before, one landlord was like, yes. So for us, we didn't see that as a challenge. We saw that as like, all right, it's just a numbers game. The more units you see, the more landlords you see, eventually you'll get a yes. So we did that. I think the most challenging part is really just, hey, like, let's take, $15,000 and take a risk on our first unit. That was the big, like, no one really wants to risk $15,000, right?
Wow. So you said you pitched 30 landlords before you got your first yes?
I would say it's at least probably 25 to 30 landlords.
Wow. So you went to 30 places that you thought would be potentials and asked them, how are you doing it? Were you like going in person or cold calling? What was your tactic?
Yeah, going in person. I mean, for me, I know Mario wanted to do it over the phone to save time by not driving there. For me, it was always like, hey, I think we'll get a yes if we're face to face. Just because it's a lot easier to talk to somebody face to face. Over the phone, they don't know who you are, right? So you can't really introduce yourself. They can't see the person talking. So it was around 30 units, and I would just go to these units, call up the landlord, be like, hey, can we set up a time? And I just went. And it wasn't all in El Segundo. So it was like some were in LA, so Santa Monica, Venice area. Some of them were in El Segundo, Long Beach, obviously. So it wasn't like in the same neighborhood. But yeah, it was around 30 units.
What were some of the obstacles that you had to overcome with pitching to landlords? What were some of their objections? Yeah,
so it's funny, like in Santa Monica and Venice, almost every landlord knows what Airbnb is. And it's just so oversaturated. And there's a reason why, Airbnb, their free version of Market Minder is Santa Monica, right? It's just so oversaturated, but you can see numbers there. And so almost every landlord knew what Airbnb was, and no one wanted to do it. A lot of landlords are scared about regulations and whatnot. And I think also just my pitch was horrible. It's my first time pitching, and I just, this is before I kind of took the course. I was just like, let's just get a unit, and then I'll figure out the course later. And so I didn't know how to pitch properly. And then, so mainly in Santa Monica, landlords just like, hey, no, we know what it is. We don't want to do it. There's a risk to it. El Segundo, I think they're just like, well, like, what? What are you doing? Like, why are you doing it? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, who the hell are you? And then, that was the pattern for a while until I finally really just changed up my pitch and I started seeing a lot better results. Just the conversation of what it was a lot better.
What was your first pitch, and then what was the pitch after you started working on it?
Oh my gosh! First pitch was like, "Hey, my name's Stefan. I want to use your apartment for Airbnb." And they're like, "What? No." Like, what? And then I remember there's times where like, "Hey, so." Mario and I, we had a strategy. We're like, all right, this is definitely going to work. So we went to the listings together, and we were like, hey, we both have remote jobs, and no, not remote jobs. We both travel a lot for work, and one of us is going to live here once in a while. The other person's going to live here once in a while. But we would like to, sublease it on Airbnb. And they're like, yeah, no. We were like, why is none of this working? So we finally took a course, and then our pitch changed dramatically. So we're, now when we go into these apartment viewings, we say, hey, we would like to do corporate and short-term rentals in your unit, right? So that was the key change. And we have a company set up now, so we have a business card and whatnot. So we look very professional. And for me, I like to bullshit a little bit with landlords, just a little bit to get them to say yes. So for me, it's like, hey, I have a lot of business travelers coming in since we're from LAX, right? That's, we found the sweet spot was airports for us, and we like it, so we stick to it. So, and in El Segundo, there's a lot of headquarters. So AT&T is here. Boeing is, almost takes over the whole El Segundo area. And then LAX, people just coming in and travel all the time. So I say a lot of business travelers coming in. I say also a lot of airline and flight attendants come in and stay. So, and they understand that and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. So it's, do business travelers and pilots and flight attendants always stay at our property? No. Probably only 30% of them do, maybe a little bit less. But it, gets the landlords comfortable with them. And then finally, when the landlords are finally comfortable with us about 2 months in, they don't care anymore. They're like, I tell them like, hey, we're doing this on Airbnb. Like they ask and like, oh, I didn't know, but you guys are great tenants. You guys pay on time all the time. You guys are, fix things up in the apartment when I don't need to send my maintenance guy. So, it really works out for us now.
And you brought up the regulations. A lot of people were fearing regulations, and whenever I hear about California, I'm just like, oh man, it's a dangerous market. Things are always changing. California, like yes, maybe they want to put like a whole ban. What's your thought process with investing in the California market with Airbnb?
Yeah, so I know like right now Long Beach technically doesn't allow it. Right, it does, but it's only like 60 days out of the year. But there's like 400, 500 units in just in Long Beach that are up on Airbnb. So, my whole thing is, I think eventually cities are going to, they got to give. This is something that's coming. This is something that's going to keep happening. People like the shared economy. And eventually I think, cities and towns are going to see that and kind of change the regulations on it. So I'm not too worried about it. And, I know some of my friends got out of the game in LA and other areas just because they were really worried about it. But towns like El Segundo, which are small, and city of Long Beach is pretty big, but towns like El Segundo, they have some regulations around it, but they're not strict. And it's very hard for them to really regulate. So a lot of these towns only have one code enforcer. He's not going to be going around town up to every single Airbnb. He has so many other things to worry about. So, that's another thing they have to kind of think about. It's like, how are really these towns going to be, enforcing these rules on Airbnb? Now, I know there's a company out there that's doing it as well. And I hear they have some success with it. So, that could, towns can hire that company to do it. But regulations, I'm not too really worried about. If there's like something really strict in place where it's like, hey, no short-term rentals allowed at all, then I don't go in there. But if there's like, if there's a little bit like, hey, you can do it 120 days out of the year or 200 days out of the year, or you can only do it at, you can only do it at your main primary residence and there's already an Airbnb market in the area, then I'll go in there because it's a little less risky.
What are you doing to be able to set your units apart as more people are coming into the space? You said that a lot of people in particular areas knew about it, but then you said like in El Segundo, people weren't super aware. Are you pretty new to that market, or was there a lot of new investors coming in? What are you doing to be able to set yourself apart?
Sure. I think El Segundo there's, I think, active listings around like 150 active listings in El Segundo alone. And those range from, big houses to small 1-bedroom studios. And then Long Beach has a bunch. So I really, in Long Beach, we try to set ourselves apart by the color of our units. It's very poppy. So like one of them is like a hot pink and the other one's like a really bright blue. So it really stands out on pictures and people like that. And in El Segundo, it's also really designed. So Tanya really gave us good ideas of how to design it, and she designed it really well for us. And so pictures really stand out for us. And I think I can say we have one of the best, better looking. 2 of our listings are definitely the top designed units in El Segundo. So it really stands out on Airbnb. I think that's how we differentiate ourselves. But it is a competitive market, I'd say, in El Segundo, because a lot of these units are nice and they're all near the airport. So people are, taking these up, and we're not the cheapest. So what I found was that guests like the cheaper listings, definitely near the airports, just because they're not really too worried about living there for a week or two. They're there for a day or two. So we're not the cheapest, but I don't mind that because, the cheaper units get snatched up, and there's so many people traveling from LAX that, our listings will get booked. And sometimes it's only a week before they get booked, or maybe it's only like 3 or 4 days before they get booked, but they do get booked. So that's nice.
What's your strategy? You said that you're planning on scaling up to 12 units in your portfolio. How are you going to be scaling? Are you going to be moving to different markets in the California area? Are you looking outside? What's your strategy?
I think right now we're trying to build up to 12 units in California area, just because we're still both here, right? So our milestone is really getting past 10. If we can get past 10, we're like, all right, this is what 10 units are doing for us in California. This is how we're running it. Can we take the same model and get 10 units somewhere in a different state or in a different area? And we really, I like the business traveler, airport market. That's basically the customer that we're trying to serve, which Jay Macy always talks about. It's like, Airbnb, it's what customer do you want to serve? Just pick that customer and, pick a location and just roll with it. So that's a market that we want to be in. I want to be in, and Mario likes it too. So I think that's what we're going to stick to, is we're going to try to get a few more units in El Segundo, a few more units near Long Beach Airport as well. And then, move on somewhere else. We're not sure where yet.
Awesome. And is there anything that you have in your units that saves you time and money?
Yeah. Roku TV. That thing's awesome. I think it's like the TCL TVs. I'm sure a lot of people know what I'm talking about because it's like the number one Airbnb TV in homes. So that's pretty good. And then we have obviously our smart locks. We have I really like your Google Wi-Fi system. I bought like the 3 or 4 pack of them, and it saves you a lot of money per unit. Like if you're just gonna buy a tub, it's like $120 per Wi-Fi router. If you buy like a set, it turns out to be it's like $100 per unit. That was nice to know. And then what else? I mean, not really a lot of like. I think what saves you a lot of money and makes you more money is really the automation tools. So like the smart pricing, the smart messaging, if you use that, the calendars, the all that is really what's saving you money, right? Because the idea here is your time is your money. So you want to kind of minimize your time as much as possible. So a lot of those things is what really saves you the money.
Is there anything that you're doing that helps your guests leave positive reviews?
I think that communication. So again, I was telling you a little bit earlier that I don't use Smart B&B. I used it before and I really liked it. It's because it saved a lot of time, and I was like, wow, this is great. But again, I really want that one-on-one communication with the guests, and I think that's what really helps lead 5-star reviews. I think that's something that is really beneficial because the more you talk with them, the more you think. And I always send a nice personal message afterwards, like, hey, thank you for staying. I really enjoyed it. I hope you really enjoyed your stay as well. It'd mean the world to me if you can leave a 5-star review, because it helps me with with future guests like yourself in the future. And, they're always leaving 5-star reviews. Once that message is sent, like most likely it's a yes. I'll get a 5-star review. And I guess I can automate that. I could probably easily automate that, but I don't want to, just because I feel, it's a nice personal touch. So I like that.
What are some of the other systems that you have in place aside from like the obvious tools that are in the market? Do you have any like internal things that you're using in your business?
No, not really. So for our cleaning, we use Turnover. That's how we manage the calendar on that. Just because it's nice, because sometimes I have my own personal cleaner. We don't hire an outside company to do it, and she sometimes not always available. So Turnover B&B is nice because there's a market for cleaners out there. And then so not really. I mean, our smart pricing is with Wheelhouse. And we actually just switched to Price Labs. We're using Price Labs now for pricing. And then what else? That's it, really. It's really just Price Labs and Turnover B&B, sometimes Smart B&B when we're both on vacation, and that's it.
Okay, Awesome. And is there one house rule that you've started including in your manual that has saved you before?
House rule, yeah. So late check-ins. So all our units are in multifamily buildings, and being LA and LAX, a lot of people are coming in at like 1 a.m. sometimes because their flights are coming in with. So we've gotten like one or two complaints from neighbors saying, "Hey, people are coming in. They're slamming the door when they're coming in." So we really said, "Hey, no more check-ins after 9 p.m. And if you do want to check in after 9 p.m., you're gonna have to pay extra, and you're gonna have to be super, super quiet." So that's one policy that we changed, which helps, I think, saved us a lot, and actually made us a little bit more money here and there.
Have you been tracking how much? Because that's the first time that I've heard of that.
I haven't really been tracking how much money we've been charging. I think we charge, I think it was like $30 to $40 per late checkout. It's happened, it probably happens twice or three times a month, but I don't keep too much track of it just because it doesn't happen like super often. Because again, we get, we're very, I would say 80 to 85% occupied. So, and it's almost majority of it is one night stays. So we're getting, 20 guests coming in and out of that apartment in a month. So there's so many guests. So we're just like, it's not really, something I keep track of.
And why'd you go the one night stay versus typically like a lot of hosts, they like to do the 2-night minimum just, to avoid the high turnover. You get typically longer stays. People that are partying weeds out a lot of those people too. What made you want to go the one night stay route?
Yeah, and so kind of going back to a couple questions back, you're saying what differentiates us in the market. I think that's one thing that differentiates us. I know a lot of hosts in El Segundo that I talk to, they don't like one night stays, and for that reason, it's the turnover, right? There's just so much turnover that And for me, it's like, hey, I'm still making money. Like, on the one night stay, I charge like $120 a night per night, and then $75 for the cleaning. Whatever. My cleaning lady's making a lot of money. I'm happy for her. She doesn't mind doing the cleanings every day on the same apartment, and I'm making money per night. And so, there's a market out there for it, especially near LAX, just because of these people coming in out of LA and wanting to stay somewhere close to the airport on their last night or the first night here, whatever it is.
So one of the ways that you're able to differentiate yourself is just off of your minimum stay requirements.
Yeah, again, I love week-long stays. It's also really nice, and week-long stays are great, and 2-night stays are great. I'm open to everything. I think I had one guest that stayed in an apartment for 3 months. That was nice. He literally just booked it on Airbnb. His company paid for the whole thing. I think he's an employee for Boeing. That was nice. I made a lot of money on that one. But the one night stays are nice. I like those as well, just because I get to communicate with more guests. I love giving people advice and telling people what to do and where to go. So I'm always telling people that. So I enjoy that. And I'm really happy that also, when I first started this, my maintenance guy was like, "Hey, my wife doesn't have a job. Can we hire her for cleaning?" So she wasn't making any money. And then now she's making on average like $2,500 a month. So she's crushing it on cleanings. I'm crushing it with Airbnb. So we're both happy. So, I feel good about that as well.
Awesome. And what would you do differently if you had to start from scratch?
So much. So I would probably, if I had to start from scratch, I would take a course right away. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want, but I would really invest in the course and just listen to the course one time over and then take notes the second time over. And really just trust the process. These people that are teaching the courses, they've done it before, especially if you find a good instructor. They've done it before, and they know what you're talking. They want you to succeed. They want you to, make some money. And so you just got to trust the process, and you got to pull the trigger on actually spending that money. So that's one thing I probably definitely would have changed, was invest in the course and look at the course right away. Another thing I probably would have done was really focus on how to save money on the furniture. I like the fact that we went to interior designer just because we learned the system and we learned how she does it. And I'm not going to say we can copy her because she's really good. We can't copy her, but we can get pretty close, and I'm happy with that. And what else? I think so. Learning how to save on furniture on the first couple of units as well. I think also I would have changed. We went through so many different smart locks. We finally found one that we like. So there's a few things. And I think in every business, you kind of like every month you learn, hey, we could, this is a really good way to do business, and let's move forward and keep doing this, this way. So we've learned a lot and we've made a lot of mistakes, but I think now we finally have a system where we're like, when we get a unit, we can get it up and running within, 3-4 days.
And what's your strategy moving forward? Do you have anything planned out on how you're going to be picking up all these units? Are you going to be using the money from your current units, or are you going to be finding more capital to invest?
Yeah, so I know both of us still have money saved that we can use our own money to invest in these units, but I think we made enough money in the past 8 months to actually, get 3 more units safely and still have a nice little safety bank. So I think that's what we're going to do. Is our next 2 to 3 units is going to be coming out of the business money, which is nice. It's finally, the business is reinvesting in itself. So that was a cool turning point for us.
What would you say is kind of like the secret sauce to being able to scale quickly? Because you've been in the space for about 8 months now, and you've went from 0 to 5, and now you're planning on going up to 12. In the next few months as well. How do you scale quickly in the rental arbitrage business?
It's a numbers game, right? Rental arbitrage. You just got to keep talking to landlords and keep going to these appointments. And I know, once you do so many like we've done, it sucks to keep going to appointments getting denied, and it's not fun. And it's, people don't realize that aspect of it. I don't think it's a very, people are like, oh my God, you have 10 units, you're crushing it, you're so good. I kind of wish, I was like you, having 10 units, but that guy who has 10 units probably got denied 100 times, right? They don't see that in the background. They don't see the struggle that you go through to get these units. So it does suck and it's hard to do it, but you just got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. Don't give up on it. Because once you get 1 unit, once you get 2 units, once you start, I think like around 3 or 4 units, you start making a little pocket change and it's nice. And you're like, okay, that struggle is worth it. Let's keep going. I think in an ideal world, we find a brand new, not brand new, but we find like a whole building that's being for sale. We're saying, hey, instead of being for sale, we'll just lease the whole thing from you. We'll do a master lease on a building, and that's like an ideal world. So we're gonna try to see if we can do that in the near future.
What question would you ask the next professional host? Maybe someone that's at a similar position than you, or maybe the next step where you're trying to go. What would you ask them?
How to raise outside capital, how to use other people's money to do this. And I think that's one thing that I'm trying to learn right now is how can I use somebody else's money to really get into this game and start doing it.
Okay, awesome. And what is last question is what has short-term renting allowed you to do? Has it made any big impacts in your life prior to investing in this space, or has it made things a little bit more complicated?
It's taught me that I really like the hospitality game. So my mom was an immigrant from Russia and growing up in Brooklyn, she was a waitress for 20. She's still a waitress, but she came here and she's been a waitress for like 26 years in the same Russian restaurant on the boardwalk in Brighton Beach. And she's always been a waitress. And I used to work for her as a busboy, in high school and middle school, and then right after high school, before I had a job, I worked for her as a busboy. And I really learned that she taught me the hospitality game and how to be really nice to people. And in Airbnb, it's all about hospitality, being nice to you, having that conversation, really understanding the guest and really understanding that, hey, if a guest wants $50 back because, they weren't happy with the stay, just give them the $50. Like it's $50 is not a big deal, right? So it's really learning what people like and how to communicate with people and how to make someone's time in your place enjoyable. I think I really learned that the fact that I really like that. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, and I don't think it's boring. I don't think it's when I get a message. I know sometimes when I get messages, I'm like, oh my God, I got a message. But majority of the time, I see like, hey, I got a message. I'm excited what this person wants. Like, how can I help this person? How can I serve this person? How can I make them have a better stay? So Short-term rentals really helped me understand that. So it's nice. I don't think it's a game changer yet with money-wise. I think I still have a long way to go before I can fully retire and say, short-term rentals really helped me retire. But I can see the path there, and I can see, the direction I need to go and to get to that spot. So that's really good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stefan, for taking the time. I'm very curious. We'll keep following your journey, and would be honored to have you back on the show when you get to that goal. You said 12 units, so I'm sure that some things are going to be changing as you continue to scale. But until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting. Hope you hosts benefited from the show. If you found value, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let us know what you enjoy about the show. If you'd like to talk to hosts that have been featured in these episodes as well as the community, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation.